partially deceased syndrome sufferer, and what I did in my untreated state is not my fault. But the guilt is crippling.
Hello everyone and welcome to another video by Centipede Geek. Today I'm going to discuss my thoughts and opinions upon the BBC America television series known as In the Flesh. I'm going to talk about episode 3. And without any further ado, let's go into it, shall we? Just so you guys know, spoilers will be in this review, so if you have not seen the previous episode, as always, go ahead and click ahead and skip the next few minutes where I actually start reviewing the episode. That way the plot won't be spoiled. But if you don't mind a few little spoilers, go ahead and keep watching, right? So pretty much what we have going on in episode 3 of BBC America's series known as In the Flesh is we have, our main character, Kieran Walker, and in this episode, Kieran Walker is starting to have flashbacks. And if you have been watching the series previously, you know that in both episodes 1 and 2, he keeps having flashbacks of back when he was a zombie or rotter or whatever you want to call it, back when he was a zombie. And in this episode, because the medication allows them, to have their memories back, in this episode, he starts to remember the exact events that happened at the grocery store. And we end up finding out that his sister, I believe her name is Jennifer, something like that. Anyways, his sister, nonetheless, he starts to remember that his sister was there at the grocery store with him, and she could not bring herself to kill her own brother. So this episode is pretty much about Kieran Walker starting to fully remember, his zombie life, and he pretty much in this episode, he killed a young girl, and in this episode, he goes to the young girl's family and says, hey, I bit your daughter, I'm the reason she is dead, and the family actually doesn't take it too harshly, because the family actually believes that their daughter is going to come back to life, because, in this series, there's a myth, kind of like just in classic zombie films, when you bite someone, they come back in a zombie. Well, in the Flesh television series in BBC America, that, known mythology that we always know from films and stuff is only a myth. And we don't know if it's actually true, and we still don't know if it's true by the end of the series. All we know is that when the first rising happened, all the people that were dead came back to life, all at the same time. And that's all we know. So we don't know that if you bite someone, we don't know if that person that you bit will come back as a zombie. If you remember in the previous episode, there was a man that was part of the HVF Corporation that got bit, and now his character is now being quarantined because there are people that believe that he will end up turning into a zombie. And there's parts in this episode, one of the subplots of this episode where, when his character is quarantined, people are like, spitting on him, throwing stuff at him. And pretty much, he is trying to, he's a diabetic, and he is trying to convince people to give him food and stuff, but it takes till towards the end of the episode to where he actually gets some food. And then we also have, our other main justice, Amy actually leaves in this episode. If you remember the character of Amy, she was the one that was the all-natural girl, the one that did not want to wear the makeup at all. She ends up leaving on a train to this episode, and the reason she leaves is because she wants to become a part of, the people that are using, the blue oblivion pills. She wants to go be with them because they think that, those zombies believe that they are there for a reason, and that could be the case. So she goes to be with the guy that she's been watching videos with on the computer, in some other town. And there's a nice little scene with her and Kieran Walker when she leaves on the train. So we also have that going on. Another little subplot is with Rick and his father. And in this episode, Rick and his father, are getting ready to go hunt down Kieran Walker's character. And right before they get ready to, Rick decides to tell his dad. He decides, it's a great scene by the way. He takes off all his makeup, takes off all his contacts, and says, hey, I don't want to do this. I'm just like his exact words are, if Kieran is evil, then I'm evil too. Something, not exact words, but something along the lines of that. And his dad ends up taking, drastic circumstances. Like I said, major spoilers coming out. His dad ends up taking a knife to Rick's head. And then when Kieran Walker sees that his best friend Rick is dead, he breaks down, takes a knife into Rick's father's house, and I thought he was gonna end up killing him, but he just ends up yelling at him and says, hey, we were just alike. You killed your only son, you murdered your son, and Rick's mother breaks down, and then finally once he starts, the Karen Walker starts, slashing the knife towards Rick's father's hands, and he finally walks outside, and he finally comes to term. He finally realizes, what he's done. He comes to term finally. It doesn't matter now because his son's dead, but he finally comes to term with who his son was, and it looks like he could have changed as a person. It didn't matter anyways because his character ended up being killed off. So we have that going on, and then finally the last little thing we have going on is that, throughout these 3 episodes, Karen Walker's parents, are trying to come to terms with who Karen Walker is, and we find out that his dad actually, watched his own son die and watched his own son slit his wrists and held him in his arms and everything. So they are just now starting to finally solve things, in their relationship. That's pretty much the main gist of the BBC America television series known as In the Flesh for episode 3. Overall, my thoughts and opinions. Let's talk about episode 3, and then I'll talk about the whole series as a whole. But right now, just episode 3. This is definitely my favorite episode in the series. There's so much great drama where not only is it a unique zombie concept, but this episode 3 focuses on mainly the drama, mainly the character development, and just the interactions and the relationships with the characters are done in such a great fashion where it really allows you to feel for everyone. Kieran Walker, played by Luke Newberry, I believe, he plays his character in such a sympathetic fashion where it allows you to feel for every scene that he's in. When our main character of Amy leaves, you really feel when she leaves, like you feel like you feel like you're losing part of yourself almost when her character leaves. She says she'll be back, joking around, when she says, oh, we're gonna get married, I have to come back. You really feel when her character leaves, and I'm sure, like I said in my previous reviews, a second series has already been ordered, already been commissioned, or season 2, whatever you want to call it, or whether you live here in the US or in the UK. Either way, we will see a season 2, and, I assume her character will probably come back. But you really feel, like I was saying earlier, you really feel when her character leaves. And then, all of a sudden, when all the dramatic things come down to the end, I was in tears. My eyes were watering at the end when Rick died, and you see, Karen Walker take the knife out of his head and then walk into Rick's father's house and start slashing. That was just a great emotional, sentimental, and just a dramatic scene in full that I really enjoyed, and I can't say anything negative or anything bad about any of the episodes in the BBC America television series known as In the Flesh, because it's such a great series. It intertwines drama, and the drama is written, and the story is written, by Dominic Mitchell in such a great way that it makes you feel for every character, and it just makes you on the edge of your seat, and it's really just a it's not only is it a horror, but it's just a very sympathetic, dramatic story where you feel for every character and you're always on the edge of your seat wondering what's going to happen next. So let's talk about some of the performances I liked. As always, Karen Walker, played by Luke Newberry, plays it in a great fashion. I love the story of In the Flesh, because when I went into watching the series, I had a feeling that it was going to be more about character development and dramatic scenes more than horror, and I love how it's like that, but it also intertwines horror in a nice way also. But I love how it's mainly a drama, a dramatic series, and I think it works really well. It works in a great way for the In the Flesh television series. So another character I like is the priest character, and in this episode he talks about something called a second rising. And the first rising was when they all came back, and they came back as zombies, and they were rehabilitated and so forth. Well, this priest character talks about a second rising, and that was one of the reasons that Rick's father killed him, because he believed his son would come back, not as a zombie, but back as a human, because he believed his son came back as an imposter, until he finally realized that that was his son. He just was a rotter, and he wasn't a human anymore, but he still had the same personality deep down. And that's what I love about the series. These people come back, and just because of their looks, people start to treat them differently just because of the way they look. But, deep down inside, the same person they always have been, before they were actually a zombie. Just great little, a really unique concept that I really think is very, very Interesting. Well, anyways, this priest talks, like I was saying earlier, this priest talks about a second rising where only the good, only the good people will come back up, and they'll come back up as humans. And Kieran Walker tries to tell, Rick's father that he's like, hey, that's not true. You only had one chance with him. This was your second chance, and you lost that second chance. Pretty much is what he tells him. Anyways, that's pretty much the main gist, and that's pretty much my opinion on the BBC America television series known as In the Flesh. Overall, that's my opinion on the third episode. Overall, all 3 episodes as a whole, I loved this series as a whole. Like I said earlier, I have nothing negative to say about it. It's a great series, and I can't wait to see what season 2 or series 2, whatever you want to call it. I can't wait to see what season 2 is going to bring. To see Amy's character return, to see just the new dramatic stuff that Kieran Walker's character is going to have to deal with. My theories on season 2, I'll talk about my theories just for a minute or two. My theories on season 2 is that, somewhere along the line, I don't think a second rising will happen. It could happen though. It could happen for all I know. You never know. But what I'm thinking is that a sort of war is going to break out between the zombies that are using the blue oblivion pills, the ones that believe they're there for a reason, and then the priest. It seems like the priest, and the HVF volunteers. It seems that a war might break out or something between them because they said that the guy, the videos on the computer, Kieran Walker said he might be dangerous. So it seems that the series might be setting up for that, though it may not. I have no idea where it's gonna go. All I know is I can't wait till it happens. Just so you guys know, season 2 will be broadcast sometime in 2014, and of course, it'll be on in the UK before it gets here to America. Once again, thanks for watching the video by Snippy Geek for my In the Flesh review of episode 3. Once again, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the page below, and I'll see you guys later with more videos by Snippy Geek.